talk about what you do in a day in VC.
Yeah, yeah, that's good for all the listeners to really understand what you're getting yourself into. I think that it depends a lot on which sort of company you're at and which sort of like deal stage you're in. Sometimes there's a lot more work to be done than other times, but generally I wake up at around 6 to 7. I try to go for a morning run or try to work out just to get some energy. Then grab one coffee and then just head into the office. And we are a very small team. We are 5 people currently. So yeah, it's very good, like family vibe. So we greet each other. We are super happy that we see each other every morning. And then I try to sit down with my manager and the entire team and just discuss, what is important right now, today, this week, and for the coming month, for example. So I try to write down a to-do list early in the morning just to set my head straight and have a pretty good understanding of how my day will look. Then if I have something super urgent in the morning, maybe a pitch meeting or some material that needs to be done for our investment committee or whatever, then I will try to do that as soon as possible just to get my head straight and reduce stress during the later hours of the day. Then if it's a chill period, I will just go through my mail, my LinkedIn, check my inboxes, if there's any cool outreaches and if I have any cool pitch decks I can look at. And then around lunch, I usually go out, grab a salad or whatever, and then usually sit by the desk to eat and do some work simultaneously. And then, yeah, just take some meetings. Usually the pitch meetings are in the afternoon. So around 2-3 p.m. are usually the sweet spot for taking pitch meetings. So I tend to have 1 or 2 per day almost. But I need to get a bit better at my time management there because it can be a bit ineffective sometimes. But yeah, and then, not a super late day. We finish at 5 or 6 p.m. and then go home and yeah, have a chill time. I think it's very time inefficient for me to start with helping our current portfolio companies because I don't have that history with them. I don't have that understanding. So I think I will slowly build that knowledge throughout. We have a lot of different investments and teams to work with. But with that said, like for us as a team and as a firm, portfolio companies should always be prioritized at all times. And then comes deal flow and sourcing. That is because we go into and we see investments as a partnership more than just an investment. So we want to be able to add value, out of 100 deals, if you look globally in VC, 10% of all deals or all investments done, the startups there say that their VC add value to them or their investment. I'm not quite sure if it was 20 or 30% of the startups say that their VC subtracts value or add negative value. And then, everything in between is just neutral. And we want to always try to be that top 10% and always put the founders first and the portfolio companies first and then deal flow second. But I tend to usually be in that later category of looking at a lot of deals and trying to find the absolute best companies to bring into the team and, have a discussion with and get an intro with them.
Yeah. I wake up, my day starts at 4:30 a.m., right? So I have my own like religious rituals. They do some meditation, right? I'll go pray, and then, start the day to get some sanity, right? So my day starts very early, get back, get the kids to school, and then I'll start at 7:30 after the kids are out the door. And that's when I kind of take a look at, what's our strategy for the given, week, month, and outlook. And then I kind of look at the day and I'll have calls with investors. I'll have calls with my portfolio companies, looking at future opportunities of investment, right? Looking at the pipeline of founders, right? So that's kind of the way the day goes. I do have to start my day with my cup of coffee, right? I like my cappuccinos. And so absolutely. So in the morning, I do all the things that needs the heavy lifting, right? To have all the stuff that I need to focus on. And then in the afternoon, I'm pretty much done by 3, 4 in the afternoon, and switch gears in the evening, another routine, but go out for a walk, clear my mind, right, and then spend time with the family in the evening. But yeah, and that's how kind of the cycle goes.
So one day could be different from another, but I would say like about 40% of the time you're taking calls with the startup founders. Then probably like 30% of the time you do the research, like look in data rooms, competitor analysis, etc., send in the documents, and the rest 30% is like lead generation, meetings with like internal meetings, preparing some documents, because sometimes you need to work with lawyers, you need to do like there are a lot of pretty boring stuff when you work in venture capital. For example, answering inbox messages, like info, like looking at the info inbox, like it's pretty disappointing, like pretty demotivating, because many messages you get, like you understand that they're not leading anywhere. Probably in the future you will have LLM doing it for you, but for now you do it manually, and do a lot of not that sexy job. This is why I say that you need to understand why you're doing. For example, I hate reading legal documents. I hate it, but I understand that I need it to close the deal. Once, as I said, I'm passionate about space, and once I helped out one girl. She's building a constellation for sustainability, and they were closing a deal, and she had to sign documents, and I spent 7 hours proofreading those documents, not because I love reading documents, as I said, I hate that, but because I wanted their business to fly. I wanted their satellites on the orbit. So, yeah, you should keep in mind that it's not all about, pitch sessions and writing unicorns. It's just, as every job, you have sometimes pretty dull things to do.
And are you working like 12 hours a day? Or when do you wake up? When do you sleep? Or is it just like you wake up, you do?
It's not that intense. It's not that intense as in investment banking or consultancy, where you work for 12 hours a day. I would say that probably you will be working 8, sometimes 10 hours, but it's more, it's a better work-life balance than in other finances.
Yeah, 100%. I think at Panache, I will say our firm is pretty on the smaller side in the sense of, we have teams in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary. And what that means is I think we have maybe 2 to 3 people per province in the investment teams. And so the structure is like analyst, principal, partner across most of the geography. And the day-to-day, like you mentioned, it's not a 9 to 5, because, sometimes you're staff on a live deal. You might, have to kind of put in the extra hours after work. Sometimes, some of your portfolio companies are raising a Series A or beyond, and you need to help them with their data room. You need to kind of, be there for them when they need help. And in terms of giving intros to other investors, we're actually helping them with their data room and things like that. So I would say, like, I'll go first into like what the day-to-day of like a VC analyst is, maybe for folks that are interested, because I think it varies between the firm. To give context, our firm is like relatively smaller. So, the structure is maybe not as big as firms that are doing 2-3 billion AUM or more. So, firms like tier 1 VCs like A16, Thrive, or in the US, like those might be that may be structured differently. So my day-to-day really revolves around a few things, right? As an analyst, if you think about the deals that come into venture like a funnel, right? You have top of funnel, middle funnel, like bottom of funnel, which is like when they go to IC and then you actually present the deal and you maybe go to a term sheet after that. Analysts really like stay at the top for most of it. Like that's your focus. And what I mean by that is my job revolves really solely at the first stance on sourcing and initial diligence. Because there's so many companies at the early stages, either through inbound, so either companies that come and message me or companies that I go and message, right, outbound. I will be the first person that passes through these companies. So I'll hop on a first call. I will look at their deck, or if they have a memo or a data room, I'll kind of do like a quick analysis that, involves understanding the market a bit more, going on pitch book to see competitors, going on a call with the founder to understand like why are they building the business, because at this early stage, a lot of it is driven by founder market fit, which is that founder the right person or the perfect person to kind of build this business to a multi-billion-dollar business, right? So that's kind of my focus, is really getting deals in. So it revolves around going to events, hosting events, meeting entrepreneurs. And then on the others, like if you go down the funnel, it's like deals that come down. I'll write memos. I will do a lot of like initial Excel work, understanding, what the market is for that. I would do, scenario analysis to see if kind of we would have the right ownership at this percent based on the terms. And so there's a lot more other kind of things that we would do to analyze that. And then I think overall, like the day to day, it varies. So sometimes like today, like I'm doing a lot of founder calls. The next day I'll maybe I'll do a lot of research on a certain industry that I've seen. Other days I'm just doing full portfolio support, and helping, portfolio company that's raising a next round. And sometimes I'm at events the whole day, right, for conferences. So I think the best part of the job is that there's a lot of freedom to kind of pick and choose the day, and every day is different. But sometimes when there's like a live deal and it's like all hands on deck, that's when I think things get very beyond the 9 to 5. But I think what I love about this is like I don't see it as work sometimes, right? It's like you're being paid to diligence and learn. And going back to your point, like who is it not for? It's not for people that don't find this fun or not interested in startups, right? So for me, it's like the perfect role. So it's kind of like the 9 to 5 more or less, or the 9 to 5 plus, or the day to day of what an analyst does at a venture.
I'd say no day is the same, especially for me. I'm on a small team, so it's just 3 of us. So depending on what needs to be done that time of year, depending on whether we're in late stage diligence on a new deal, or if a company in our portfolio is raising a new round and we need to help out with that, I'd say it really changes day to day. I split my time pretty evenly between the new investment side of things and the internal admin portfolio management sides. On the day to day, thinking about just this week, like there may be a day where I have 2 or 3 meetings with new founders that are first meetings, a meeting with a company that we're in diligence on, or a call with one of their customers or one of their employees, a call with another investor. I like to set recurring check-ins with some of the investors that have similar theses to us too, to see what they're seeing in the market, if they have any good deals to share with us, and vice versa for us to share with them. I might go to a in-person breakfast or join a webinar or go to a venture capitalist happy hour after work. So it's a big, I'd say, mix on the day-to-day. And then on the internal admin and portfolio side of things, I often am leading check-in calls with our portfolio companies, sending them surveys to request metrics periodically, organizing those metrics so that we can report them to our LPs, writing newsletters for our community and our investors, helping out with anything from planning a small group dinner to a large 80+ person breakfast with a panel. So doing some event planning, marketing, all of that too is, I'd say, a core part of my job. And I am someone who really enjoys that. I think that's a reason why I initially had gotten into consulting too. I liked the change up of always doing a new case, working on new projects, no day the same. I think in venture you get that to an even higher degree, where there is structure in that you have your goals, your metrics, and I'd say there's that type of structure, but on the day-to-day, it really just depends. And a lot of it's really on you to seek out those opportunities, develop your personal network. And at a smaller fund like this too, I'd say it is more general. I have some friends who are at funds where at the analyst and associate level, you might be purely sourcing or purely diligence or purely portfolio ops. And so for myself, I like having that opportunity to learn about kind of the full fund life cycle and work across areas.
In a small fund, what are the perks? We talked a little bit about it already, right? Very agile, early stage, which means you can do a lot of deals. We even already had like visiting analysts basically working end to end on deals all the way from sourcing. It's very little about politics, really just about getting shit done. Everyone can work on everything. So you don't work in silos as discussed, right? There's not someone only doing deal flow and someone only doing fundraising, but many people literally do everything. And you still kind of have the potential to really shape something, and the direction is open, which in my opinion makes it very exciting. So that's it in a small fund. And in early stage, it also means, right, you can build a track record maybe more quickly, because like in bigger funds or growth funds, I know people, for example, that make one investment every 2 years only. So for us here, most of us get to do quite a few deals. Then also it's more founder oriented. So for us, it's really about the people, and like the core criteria for what we look for in an investment is always the people, right? Because sometimes we come in and it's just 2 or 3 people and some slides and nothing there yet. So I really like this aspect and excitement of it. Although on the flip side, what you don't have in a small fund, and you maybe rather see like in a bigger fund, for example, is stuff like way more processes in place. You maybe have different teams, like you have even a team maybe to organize your events. Like for us, we do everything ourselves, and we over the weekend work on the guest list for our events and these kind of things. So that's obviously a great luxury. Then you have probably already a more established brand. So like a big fund, maybe you have a big brand and you don't ever have to explain yourself, and it can help with, for example, winning a deal. Then it's probably a bit less erratic, because if you're like a bigger growth investor, you don't have to speak to, I don't know, 5 founders per day, because there are only so many companies that actually make it to this stage that are of interest to you. It will be maybe a bit more structured with regards to learning. So what we discussed before concerning being a self-starter and really kind of finding your own work. In a bigger fund, maybe it will be more structured, and you will have like more structured learning and feedback cycles and processes in place, which can also be great, of course. But yeah, it can be very different. And then also how you make investments can be very, very different, like more process driven. You conduct, of course, way more due diligence. Maybe it's also a bit more finance heavy or data driven compared to an early stage fund. So it can be very, very different. And then again, you have another layer. So you have this kind of early small versus more established and more later or more growthy. And then you have this different component of verticalized or generalist fund, right? So for example, we are a vertical fund.
At a small firm, in addition to my role in investing, there's a big crux of the role in firm building, because Zeal was started in 2020. And so to an extent, there's so much that we're building here internally. So I had the opportunity to come in and start our healthcare thesis and focus, build that brand within healthcare, which our founder and managing partner, Nasir, empowered me to do. NEA has had a fantastic track record in healthcare investing since its foundings in the 1970s, right? And so at a large firm, you have an established platform to work from and grow from. At a small firm, you could have the entrepreneurial opportunity to build it out. So that's one example. The second example is the difference you could imagine between a large company and a smaller company. A larger company, there will be more AUM, more resources oftentimes. A smaller company, more ability to be entrepreneurial and build new things, but also oftentimes having to be a little more scrappy with how you think about it. So I think those are some differences. And then third, I think the size of the team also makes the difference, right? Just in terms of how big the platform is. And at a smaller firm, oftentimes a smaller team, meaning that you'll get to know the whole company faster than at a larger firm. perhaps. So the day-to-day of interacting with a small versus large team just really varies.
I graduated 2 months ago. It's a night and day difference when you're balancing school and trying to build a VC versus I'm full in. Like I'm 100% of my time is just dedicated to Genesis Fund now. The GPs are all encompassing. We have our hand in every single pot as we should, but there's also certain focuses that we specialize in. I really run, like we're all on the deal flow side. That is a non-negotiable. Everyone needs to be sourcing and doing deal flow, diligencing deals, etc. For me personally, I'm a lot more as well on the business side of things. Like starting a venture fund is honestly, it's very complicated, and like the legal setup, the accounting, the LP management, the reporting, the taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That takes a lot of time. I think in the early days, like we're still now, we just did our first close last week, so we're still in the process of doing all of that. So it's taking a lot of my time, and I think it'll go down as we kind of close that chapter out. But the day to day is, for me, it's spending some time on that. It's organizing events, building community. So trying to figure out ways to increase our presence in Boston, whether that be through partnerships or social media. I'm actually meeting today with a social media person we're working with out of one of the hacker houses of Boston, and try to like increase our presence on social media, because that's where Gen Z is. And then finally, it's always at the end of the day doing some learning, reading certain things that you might not be well versed in. On a deal that you're diligencing, say it's nuclear, for example. We just did a nuclear deal last week. The evenings were spent, all right, let me try to understand a little bit of like 6 years worth of PhD research. Let me try to condense that in like a week or two and try to understand what nuclear is. And so it's a mixture of meeting people, executing, and learning.
Give us an example of like, hey, 9 a.m. I wake up and then I do this. I go to maybe even a university to eat with a founder at like 6 p.m. or something.
Okay, yeah. Let's run through a day. Let me pick a day in my calendar right here. Okay, 8 a.m. woke up. No, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. woke up. I go for very short gym sessions. Like I get bored in there, so I do like 30 to 45 minutes typically. At 8 a.m. every morning, we have a meeting with the team, whether it be a deal sourcing stand-up, so high-level overview of what deals have come in, or it'd be a deep dive meeting where we go really deep into the deals that we have been seeing and kind of what are the next steps. And then on Fridays, our pipeline, the LP pipeline meetings. So 8 a.m. is our morning meeting. I've just been to the gym. I just had that morning meeting. It's time for me to take a shower. So typically 8:30 to 9, I'm taking a shower. 9 to noon is like mornings are very busy with calls. So that's just either meeting ecosystem partners or founders. So typically you'd have 3 to 4 calls that last you till noon. Early afternoon it's the same thing. It's just being on calls, meeting people. Kind of early to late afternoon, typically I'll have some time to start executing on the things that I need to do. So my to-do list, I just kill it in the space of like 2 to 3 hours. And then evenings, it's, all right, what dinner do I go to? What event am I going to? So for example, last week was the Babson Summer Venture Showcase. So in the evening, I went to go see what the Babson students who had just spent 12 weeks building their businesses went to pitch. And the days kind of repeat, and they're kind of the same every day. Obviously, one changes more or less than another. Sometimes there's no calls and you're just executing the whole day. Sometimes you just have so many calls and you can't do any execution.
And how was it different when you were in school? Because obviously you were meeting with founders as well. Was it between classes, or did you kind of just like specifically had it like at the end of the day and then you did homework in the morning? How did that work out for a student who's listening?
Yeah, that was really like whenever there was time, there was time. If I wasn't in classes, then that is open time to do anything Genesis Fund. I really, in my final semester of senior year, I had to like make a decision. Am I trying to get good grades this semester, or am I trying to launch a VC fund? And I come from a Southeast Asian family. Like grades are important. Doing well in school is very important. So to me, that was like, I had to go tell my parents, like, guys, just to preface, my grades are not going to be good this semester, just because I'm not going to spend any focus or time on actually trying to do well in school this semester. I'll go do my classes. I'll do the bare minimum that gets me like good enough grades, but nothing crazy. I had to make a sacrifice of, okay, school is my second priority now. Genesis is my full priority. And then I think that's okay. I was in my final year, senior year. It's